administration doing specifically to counter the growing Russia and China relationship?
What we're focused on is revitalizing our alliances and partnerships around the world and advancing our foreign policy goals around the world. It's not about countering them. It's about advancing our goals.
Do you think that Putin and Xi fear President Biden?
You'd have to ask them whether they fear or they not.
Okay.
It is not about fear. It's about President Biden advancing our foreign policy goals around the world. It's about President Biden revitalizing these alliances and partnerships. It's about President Biden and what he's doing to preserve our national security interests around the world. That's what we're focused on.
It's not about fear. Oh gosh, we're so screwed. Joining me now, my buddy Kurt Schlichter, columnist, author of the new book Inferno, and my other buddy Jim Hanson, president, World Strat Solutions, former Green Beret. Okay, Kurt, you know what? I introduced you first. I'll lead it off the top. It's not about fear, Kurt. It's not about fear. Do you think they fear Joe Biden, Kurt?
You know, John Kirby sounds a lot like my friend Jim Hanson, so it's disconcerting to hear such sissy garbage in such a similar voice. I mean, you know, the guy was a Navy admiral, so I'm not expecting a whole lot out of this crop. I mean, my gosh, where have you gone, Admiral Nimitz? No, they don't fear Biden. They are celebrating Biden. That this guy's in charge. They're high-fiving each other over caviar and vodka in Moscow right now. What a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace. What a strategic abomination this is. I don't even know where to begin and yet remain FCC compliant.
Jim, okay, fear is necessary, is it not? I know we're not supposed to use words like hate and fear because we're in this new namby-pamby world of ours, but actually it is important that Xi and Putin fear America, correct?
If they don't fear us, they can't respect us because they're our enemies. If our enemies don't at least have the idea that there is leadership in the United States that could cause them harm, then we have a problem, and we have a problem. I mean, we just saw the Chinese just brokered a deal between our enemy Iran and our former ally, the Saudis in Arabia, in that overthrew, the peace accords that Trump did with the Abraham Accords. So now they're in Moscow and likely to broker a deal for peace there. Where's the U.S. on the world stage? We're nowhere. Biden's in the basement licking an ice cream cone.
Oh, okay, you know what? We're going to pause on all this before we get to the Ukraine stuff, because we're going to do something, just a little charity work we do often on this show. This is called a dumping on John Cornyn section. So we're going to pause all the news of the day. And Kurt, look, if there was a portrait up in D.C. of, hey, just put one picture up of defining Washington, D.C., I've argued several times that you would take a picture of John Cornyn and just slap that ball of uselessness on the wall and say that is Washington, D.C. But that's just me, Kurt. What do you think about Texas Senator John Cornyn?
Well, look, it's not enough that this guy had to go help the Democrats with their latest gun grab thing out of some bizarre, misguided notion that the Washington Post was going to like him. But just recently, John Cornyn went after somebody who was saying, maybe we ought to have a real strategy that promotes America's interest in Ukraine. I said, well, that sounds like you're channeling Neville Chamberlain. Okay, like I say to so many young liberals who quote Harry Potter at me, read another book. Everything's not Munich. All right? My gosh, and this kind of implies that he's Winston Churchill. Okay? He's not fit to lick Winston Churchill's cigar ashtray.
Thanks for that visual, Kurt. Jim, the John Cornyn minute is yours. Please, sir.
He is a 100% useless waste of human protoplasm and an oxygen thief. And to attack Sean Davis from the Federalist is just absurd. Sean's a patriot. Sean's smart enough to know that if America is not defending a strategic interest or advancing one, we have no business running headlong into World War III because everybody wants to hate on Putin.
Which leads me to John Kirby. I can't even believe this is a video that exists, but this is John Kirby talking about why America is against a ceasefire.
It's fine for the Chinese to go out there and say they want a ceasefire. We'd all like to see the fighting stop. Who wouldn't? But if it stops now, without any consideration of the Ukrainian side, without any discussion between the Chinese and the Ukrainians, without any accession by them to an idea of a ceasefire, it basically freezes in place what Mr. Putin has been able to achieve on the ground inside Ukraine. It's dwindling, but he still has occupied territory in Ukraine, and that's just unacceptable.
Okay, now, Kurt, for whatever people feel about this Ukraine-Russian mess, I would hope we could all agree that young Russian soldiers and young Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian civilians, it would be really nice if they could stop dying in droves as they currently are. But apparently that's not America's foreign policy right now.
Well, look, I'm for America's interest. Look, I like the Ukrainians. I went and trained them. They're tough dudes. They're fighting for their country in their own way. They're pursuing their country's interest. We should pursue ours. Now, let's be clear. None of the three of us are hawks. You, Jesse, you are a fighting Marine. Jim was a snake eater, and of course, I washed trucks in the desert. But the thing is, we all have a common experience, and we've been there when people have been hurt or worse. And my test is always, could I sit down with a mom of an 82nd Airborne paratrooper in Oklahoma and say, ma'am, this is why your son died, and have her not slap my face? And I don't know, I don't see that test here, because this can suck us in. We've already lost one drone. It's only a matter of time before somebody's in the wrong place at the wrong time and gets killed. And I don't understand why it's worth that. No one's articulated that to me, because they can't, because they don't understand strategy. They don't understand national interest. All they're doing is reacting, usually to hack cliches like the one John Cornyn shot out this morning.
Yeah, no doubt.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, the history of FBI scandals, and America's worst presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.